Hi, I'm Peter Nichols, Life Enjoyment Mentor. My business is enjoyment, my product is purpose. I help people connect with what they enjoy in their lives with what gives them purpose at work, home and in community life. When you lose yourself in what you enjoy, you find yourself. The real you comes alive. Typically in our early working years we focus on earning the money we need to establish ourselves and our families in life. I believe the second half of life is the richer half. Only when we have reasonably experienced adult life do we start to understand what makes us different as a person, what we are good at and what people value about us. We are ready to find our true north, serving causes that give us satisfaction and answer the question, why are you here? This is one of a series of interviews of people who explored their true potential, have seen the light and made significant and purposeful changes to enjoy a more satisfying life. And this morning, I would like to introduce my guest, Ron Fiedler, who has a truly remarkable journey of transformation. Ron's story takes us from his early days growing up in Teacher Gully, South Australia, with deep family roots in the Barossa Valley, to an adventurous career that has spanned continents and industries. After beginning his professional life as an apprentice chef with one of Australia's largest catering companies, Spotless, Ron worked his way up to chef manager. But his career took a dramatic turn in 2003 when he found himself in the heart of Iraq, setting up kitchens and cooking for American, Australian and UK troops in Tikrit and Baghdad. Upon his return to Australia, Ron transitioned into the real estate industry, where he spent over 15 years as a licensed agent and auctioneer. His entrepreneurial spirit led him to start his own real estate business, support business, coaching and mentoring agents, while also helping tenants negotiate better deals with landlords. As Ron was finding his next passion in life, he started up his own airport transport service to and from the beautiful Barossa Valley. But this was only a temporary measure until he found his real passion, which is what he's still doing right now, working in independent media as an internet radio and podcast host, producer and coach. Ron is here to share with us how he navigated those dramatic shifts in his career and his life, and how he found new purpose along the way. Welcome to the show, Ron.
Peter, thank you so much for having me. I'm really going to enjoy this conversation today.
I'm looking forward to it too, Ron. It's good to have you. Well, let's start very simply. Tell me about the decision to make a big shift. Let's bring me up to the present date in your words about what your story is.
Well, I was in a situation where I was living in Sydney and I was coming to Adelaide. My father was living on his own and we were living in one of the biggest, the most chaotic, the most probably metropolitan sort of city in the world. And we love Sydney, but what happened was I wanted this change in my life. I didn't know what it was. And Peter, what happened was we were living in Adelaide with my father, living in Sydney, and I said to my wife, Karen, why don't we make the switch, live in Adelaide, ditch the $1 million mortgage, ditch being 3 hours in traffic every day, live in Adelaide, and then go to Sydney, reverse it around. And that's what we did. And this started the change because I was dealing in real estate, which I loved and all, but I thought to myself, there's got to be something better life, better, more of a sort of life balance. And that's when we decided to do something completely different. So when I came down, it was probably 2017. Karen and I got married here in Adelaide instead of in Sydney. And I decided, well, what I'm going to do? I'm not going to do real estate in Adelaide. I'll still do it in Sydney. But I need something here. So we started a airport transport service. So what we did was we got about 3-4 Holden cars. And we started this transfer business from Barossa to Adelaide and vice versa. What happened is you can't get really a taxi or transport, especially at 4 a.m. And that's what we did. Yeah. Did very well.
Specialised service for catering for that sort of person.
Yeah, some wine tours there as well. It was really good and I enjoyed it. But what happened was I decided that I was going to run in the 2019 election with a political party. I knew I couldn't win where I was running because it was a very, very safe Labor seat. But what I wanted to do was try to make it marginal. That way that if Liberals thought they were going to win, they'd spend money. If Labor thought they were going to lose, they would spend money in the area.
This is state government?
It's, federal. The 2019 federal election.
Yeah.
And I didn't get in, which I knew I didn't. Did I make a difference? Maybe a little, not as much as I'd like, but it was a great experience. And then what happened was we came up to an offer being put onto our business and we decided to take it, which I'm so glad we did because it was about a week before Holden collapsed in Australia, which meant I'd lose the cars because it was a lease arrangement. And then COVID hit as well. So during this COVID time, I thought, well, what am I going to do? And I was working with a community radio station through a person that I knew who got me into this, loved it. And a lot of people kept saying to me, Ron, can you record this podcast? I thought, well, yeah, I can. Ron, can you do a commercial? Ron, I need a voiceover. Can you do this? And I was doing it. And I was spending a lot of time, probably 20 or 30 hours a week doing this stuff. And then my wife said, Ron, why don't we make this into a business? And I thought it was the best idea in the world because I'm now doing what I love. I get to work with people like yourself where I can help them put their voice out. The voiceless are getting a voice. Mainstream media don't want to know everything that everyone else wants to know about. They've got their agenda, which is okay. They need to sell advertising, shock news sells. But there's so many stories and so much education and so much information out there that's missing in people's lives. And this is what we do. We help people put that out, and I love it. And it's been the best change. Money-wise is not what it's all about. It's more for me about lifestyle because I get to come into the studio maybe at 2 p.m, record some podcasts, and then I can go home. I do some stuff from home as well, or if I go interstate, I've got my computer and I can do stuff from there. It is a great lifestyle for me now because I get to do what I want to do in the time frame I want to do it.
Fascinating stuff there, Ron. It seems to me a little bit what you're saying there too. In that first, no, I'll rephrase it slightly. You were making a lot of change of life decisions. What especially was different about becoming the podcast position? That different to all those other shifts from real estate to chef or the other way around?
Yeah.
What was particularly special about becoming a podcast person?
Well, I think it's the fact that I give the voiceless a voice. That's one of the best things because our studio is very neutral. We're not left, we're not right. We don't judge. Of course, we've got 3 rules in our studio, which is you can't talk about anything before the courts, nothing derogatory, any slander or anything, and also make it past the pub test. If you're not going to say it to mum, don't say it on air.
Absolutely.
And what it means is that anyone can come to me and I can help them get their message out there. And believe it or not, this is how waves of change happen is through just one person with a voice. But how do they get their voice out there? And I love doing that. I love people coming to me and saying, I've got this idea, I don't know what to do. And it's the creating side. We produce it. We sit down with them. We get scripts. We get music together for their intros and outros. We get to put this out and see the reaction from people. And it's really great, and I love it. And the other thing is the big change for me was time. I have time to do other things I want to do. Right, I'm not on, believe it or not, we're not on call. We run our studio 24 hours, 7 days a week. We're not here, but we're available. But the thing is, I don't have to worry about working 7 days a week. I don't have to worry about having to do deals in the middle of the night. Everything is virtually pre-planned, which really helps.
There is a clear skill which you've got in podcasting. Was that something you become aware of earlier in your life? That without even necessarily thinking about podcasting, the ability to draw information out of people and run the technical side of this. had there been job you'd been doing before, or just something, even what perhaps you used to do, loved doing as a teenager or something? Where did this skill come from?
Well, I think it came from the fact that I love supporting people. I don't want to be the front person, even though at times I am, but I'd rather help someone else be that front person, get that acknowledgement, be that go-to person. And that's what I'm good at. I'm good at support. I'm good at putting things together, helping people to get their message out there, helping them organise if it's an event or if it's a cause. So, I've done that a lot with political parties. I've done that a lot with private businesses. And with real estate, for example, I had a lot of agents that would say to me, Ron, I just don't have time to do things. So we set up a support service where what we did was we had retired real estate agents that could go and open homes, show the people around, answer their questions and all, and then give all that information to the agents so they could have time off. We used to do a lot of that sort of stuff, and I used to put it together. So since I've been young, I've always been that support person.
Yeah, support is a word that keeps coming through all the time. Supporting people, supporting what they're doing, support that sort of role. So, which is exactly what you're doing now. Exactly, you're right. It's brought it all together.
Yeah.
But that's terrific, Ron. We talk about midlife, and we've had this term midlife crisis.
Yes.
And it's usually around about the age of 50, that we peak and then we sort of supposedly overhill and we should die away, which this sort of discussion of your story says is absolute rubbish. That's not what happens.
Well, my wife might say different, that I'm having a midlife crisis now, but I don't think I've had it yet.
No. Well, actually, what do you regard as midlife?
I used to think 50, but now I think midlife is probably closer to late 60s, 70 now. The way we go, my father is 80 and he still lives as a 50-year-old.
I know that feeling well. Yes, I think... So you've always had this sense of drive. You've always been searching for the right thing in your life, by the sounds of it. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I really think it is. I think that I became a chef when I finished school because my father was a chef. My grandfather was a baker, and I did like it. But what I didn't like was the time. Time to me, it's of the essence, Peter. We've only got so much time.
Yep.
And what I found with catering is you'd work maybe 80 hours a week. You wouldn't see your family, friends. You're working hours that they're out having fun. So when you're finished work or it's your days off, you don't have people around you. So I really find that time is really of the essence. And I think that's what drives me now is time. I like to use my time as much as I possibly can.
And I suggest, by the sounds of it too, there's a fair bit of energy behind all that too, because the energy isn't necessarily time related, is it? You where and how you put your energy. It sounds. In fact, I guess has energy been a bit when you made these changes? Did you get this surge of energy each time, or was it just simply, look, I'm just not ready. I just haven't found what it is. I'll sort of try that and see how I go. Is that sort of which way do you think?
I wouldn't say. I would say I try a lot of things.
Yeah.
But what I do is I get this idea in my head, wherever it comes from, and then I start working on it. And I spend all my time working on that. I do other things, but this is what my focus is. And I'll start getting things together, researching, put it all together. I get Karen, my wife, who is just my rock in the sense of pushing me. She will help me out with what I need, and then I come up with this idea. So the surge of energy is there, and I really got to focus on that and really put the energy in. So it means, and I can do this quite well, 4 hours sleep, because I find that when I've got something really happening I want to do, sleep doesn't need to come into it because the energy is sort of reviving me.
Yep.
And I just do that. And once it comes out to the end and I've got what I want, then it's sort of that relaxed time. I start to wind down. I start to, have 8 to 12 hours sleep. I, start eating a bit better. But when I'm doing it, I just focus on what I've got to do and the energy is just there. It's like, I suppose, a full battery that just doesn't go down.
Yeah. Because I think these days, because work and life sort of blur now, there's no great distinction.
Yeah.
it's a lot about, we used to say I'm juggling the balls all day long.
Yes.
Now it's more a question of where I put my energies, the idea of avoiding burnout and getting burning up too much and being able to feel like through your work and through your life you can generate new energy. I think that's what I'm hearing you say too.
Yeah, I do. I have had burnout, and I'm at a point now where what I'm doing now, I need to now take a little bit of time and refocus and come up with the next idea in the business. So what's happened is that Karen and I for 4 years have just concentrated on this. It started as a passion project and has ended up so much more. But my biggest thing is, Peter, I sometimes can't delegate. I want to do it myself because I like doing it myself. But I'm at a point now where I need to delegate. So what I'm going to do is take a couple of months downtime. I'm still going to run everything, but I'm just not going to be in the business as much. I'm going to do what I usually do. I'm going to use that energy to come up with my next lot of ideas and put them in and implement them, and then I'll be back.
You're building a life around you, not necessarily what other people expect of you, which I think is a huge way people are thinking these days.
Yep.
True. Look, this you've done an awful lot of searching, and I'm wondering how much you feel that in all that search, whether you found purpose or whether it was the other way around. Did purpose find you, do you think? Well, do you understand the difference I mean? It just seems to me that in my case, I always believe that things suddenly came to me based on what I was looking for.
Yes.
What was your experience in that regard?
Very much so. So I start, looking, I don't know if you call it fate, if you call it the universe coming in, or if you're a religious person that God has a plan for you. I find all this together. I find that, God does have a plan for me in life, and that is to help people become the best they can. And I really do. I find the universe wants me here to help people succeed. And that's what I found. I found that purpose is there at the right time. I don't think you can rush it. I think it's really this they talk about a path, and you can make your own path. Yes, you can, but I really do believe that there's all these sort of off trails that are there, and they come just at the right time. So when you're walking down this path and all suddenly there will be a diversion. Sometimes it's a good one, sometimes it's not, but you've got to make sure that you're on that right diversion. And I think that's what happened. The purpose comes to me rather than me going and finding it.
Would you say your experiences when you made your shifts were ones of, did you have a sense of fear that it might not be the right one, or was it more of courage, this is what I know I want to give a go at? Difference between courage and fear and all these?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think that I had fear of, one, not succeeding, and two, running out of money. That's a big fear. But then what came to me was, I've got nothing to lose. If it doesn't work out, I can rebuild myself and work in another path. If we were talking probably, going into the 50s, 60s and 70s, it was a bit more different times where you had one job. It was a big thing to have a career with one company and never move.
Absolutely, yes.
And you started to do this before you made your change. If you were hopping in and going from job to job, you were a drifter, you were no good, you were lazy or not committed. Now it's a bit different because life is so much more. And I think over our time, we change, we evolve, we have knowledge that we can share in other places. So staying with the one business for 30 or 40 or 50 years is not the norm now, because what I learn in life, I can use in other areas. So why just limit yourself?
That's exactly a really good point, because you're right. As the years go by, our knowledge, and not just our knowledge increases, but our wisdom and our perspective of life and understanding who we are, and understanding what's going on and what we're good at. Those sorts of things suddenly evolve. Actually, I love your word evolve. They evolve as the years go by. And that's why I say I've found the second half of life is actually the richer half. Because all these beautiful things are happening rather than just going through the motions of saying, how can I earn enough money to be able to keep the family? And and you had your $1 million mortgage you were talking about in Sydney, was all hanging over your head sort of things.
I think if you look at it this way, if you have so much commitment in debt, so much commitment in probably, I'd say, friends, family that are in the wrong spot, then you'll never make that move out of the fear that if I lose my job, I lose my home. I lose my home, I may lose my partner, I may lose her family, I will lose that support. Where if you don't have that, you can move around freely to explore and do new things.
Yes. It's funny, I remember my career one, like before I started what I do now, I was working in the Treasury in Canberra.
Yes.
And the head of the division said to me one day, Peter, I think you've gone as far as you're going to ever get with here. You don't have the development quals that we need. Yeah. And so, I guess that really did start me thinking, because it fitted in with the way I was thinking. Yeah. I've done my dash here. I need to find change.
It's like when I used to coach for, real estate agents. I would coach only first-year real estate agents. The reason was they would get to a point where they need to move on to the next person that can take their career to another level. So I can teach them the basics. I can teach them how to sell, how to communicate, how to be customer focused. But then they have to move to the next level. And, I couldn't take them there. The reason I couldn't was because all my concentration was helping people when they first started. So then you'd hand them over. And I think that's what it is. Whatever business you're doing, whatever career you're in, even a doctor can only move so far before they need to maybe be the master and teach. Mm-hmm. They've done the surgeries. Maybe it's a cardiologist, I can't say that word, heart surgeon. They've been doing this for years. They need to share that knowledge. So they need to move on to share, to teach the next generation.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think that's so important. I think there's the sense of, and I guess also what I'm hearing you say, Ron, is this: you need to have. You've always had an open mind about possibilities. You've always sort of kept your eyes open on the horizon and the bigger picture to see what's going on around you. As to where there might be possibilities opening up. I think that search mode is so important to, and what you're confirming for me is to have the courage to say, look, you have got a life, a true life, which if you put your mind to it, you don't have to do what mum and dad told you should do when you were a teenager. There is a life for you, but it does take a life experience to become aware of that and some idea of just what you are good at.
Yeah, I think so. I think that I'm now at a point in my life where my life is starting and I've got that experience, the knowledge now to move to where I need to go.
And you didn't. I'm not going to ask you for your age, but you're clearly into your second half of life, and you are saying life is starting.
It's starting.
I think that's really, because I couldn't agree more. Yep. Life is still starting and growing. I love the Japanese ikigai, reason for living. Yeah. They don't have a retirement, and that's why they have all these people who are 100 plus. Because they see a reason for living. Yes. And they live according to that principle, which is what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. My wife is, and it's no secret, she is older than me. And she is in her next part of life, but she has done so much. So she started as putting stuff together, a collaborator, I think they call it, where they put all their, she was working with a travel agent, so she was putting brochures together to send out and putting all this stuff together and sending out packages and all. And she's evolved from that to working in this business. She never thought that she would ever own a business. She never thought she would go overseas. She never thought that she would move interstate or experience what we've experienced in life and the people we've met. And that happened because her family were people that would live only in one area, never left that area. She was the black sheep and moved. And what I'm trying to get...
Black sheep, yes, that's a good term, yes.
And what I'm trying to get was, don't listen to people who say you can't, because you can. If you've got to go out there and make 20 mistakes, so be it. But you're actually moving and getting that life experience. Karen has got so much life experience where she knows how to get out of situations because she's been in those situations. If she hasn't, if she wasn't, and she had a job from day one to where she is and never moved at all, and a situation come up, she may not be able to get out of that. And that's what she's really taught me.
Let's go right back to those early days. You mentioned you had very strong affiliations with Barossa Valley. What do you think the life of the Barossa Valley lifestyle and your life in those years did for developing the person you are today?
Well, my great-grandparents were from Germany. We came out from Prussia.
Sure.
And they decided, they had an opportunity to go to the Barossa. And every time I would go up there, what I would see was happy people enjoying themselves. No time constraint. There wasn't I have to get up now because I've got to go into work. It was, this needs to just happen now. So that's what taught me. And going up there on weekends, it was relaxing. I could see that even though they had a lot of work to do, they were very much relaxed people. And we all get stressed. We all get this knots in our stomach because we've got things to do and all. But what I always think about is when I was a child, being in Tea Tree Gully area as well, which is on the foothills of Adelaide, the best childhood I ever had was knowing that there weren't time restraints on weekends. I could take the bike and go for a ride with my friends and just enjoy myself.
The freedom.
The freedom. And that's the thing with the Barossa, I think. It's the relaxation of leaving the grind behind, leaving the stress behind, and just relaxing without time.
You're making one of the points that I've been making for 50 years, that what you do at the weekend in your personal life has an incredibly powerful impact on what you do through the week.
Yeah, definitely. Time to me, I've always been an organised person. I've always, loved to turn up on time, make sure that I'm there when I need to be. But what I do find is sometimes that you need to step back and realise that, look, if it's 4 o'clock and you can't get there to 10 past 4, don't stress it. I come to this thing in life now, Peter, where if it's not in my control, I don't worry about it anymore. I'll do two things. If I can do something about it, I would. If I can delegate it to someone who knows what they're doing, I will. If not, I just don't worry about it. So if I'm driving in the car and I know there's a lot of traffic and I'm going to be 10 minutes late, I'll text or call that person and say, hey, I'm going to be 10 minutes late. But I'm not going to stress about it because it's out of my control. Sure. So when it comes to time, I will keep to time. But, time is of the essence, of course. But now it's more about relaxation. It's about doing what I want to do.
We're starting to come towards the end of our session, Ron. This statement I use, that the second half of life is the richest half, and how to make a purposeful second half of life is important. What's some of your tips you would give to people about how they can approach their second half of life, given your experience?
Well, I think start with a plan in the sense of what you want to do in that second half. Most people, when they start going into their second half of life, they're probably established. They're probably just about paid off their home. Probably the children are grown up and got their own careers. They've got some hobbies. They're coming up towards that, starting to plan for retirement. Start thinking, okay, I've done all this. I've got all these skills. What can I do now that I really want to do? So, for example, if you've been a carpenter all your life and you've been building houses and you've got all those skills, maybe the thing that you want to do is not build houses anymore, but you really wanted to maybe design furniture because you got those skills. Start thinking about that. Start thinking about what really you love about building, and then put it into something that's purposeful for you. It might be, say, for example, coming up to your next part of life, it might be, hey, what I've never done and I've always wanted to do is travel. How can I make that into my next half of life? And I can tell you now, I know some people who are traveling, and what they've done is they've got work, remote work, and they just travel to different countries and different places in Australia. They'll spend 3 or 4 hours doing remote work, but they're travelling and they're enjoying it. So they're funding it They've still got a purpose in life, which is doing their skills. Maybe they were an office administrator, or maybe they were a retired judge, for example. They've got these skills that they can use, but they can still travel around. So I think it really is have that plan of what am I really good at doing and enjoy, and how can I put that into my next half of life to really enjoy life?
I actually, my retired dentist, quite some years ago now, I heard one day that he actually is still working. He had to quit because his eyesight wasn't up to the dentistry work.
Yep.
But he finished up going over to Thailand after the tsunami, the big tsunami over there, helping to identify bodies through their teeth.
Wow.
It's just a lovely story about how you can twist what you're good at to a really valuable need that existed at the time.
Yeah.
So, there's always, so there's always ways you can bring your skills, because I guess the other part of what I'm hearing you say too is that it's not only what you enjoy, but what's going on in your mind that says this is enjoyable. What's the purpose? Why it's lifting your self-esteem, you're learning things, and all these things are happening and helping you develop where you might want to go.
Exactly. I talking about that, I know of a person that I did my apprenticeship with the company I work for. Love cooking, but you know what he does now, Peter? He cooks for dogs. He makes gourmet dog food. He's still doing what he loves, which is cooking, but he's changed it to do what he really loves, which is hanging out with dogs. So he caters for dog parties. He makes these gourmet foods and all, but he's still doing what he loves, just in a different way. So whatever your skills are, have a look at what you love the best about those skills and put it into something you love.
Yeah. Look, before we wrap up, anything we didn't discuss, or any big message you would like to give listeners that sort of comes out of this whole discussion today?
Yeah, Peter, I think two very quick things, which is one, whatever someone tells you, there's two ways to look at this. It's either good advice that you can use in your life, or it's advice to avoid. So if someone tells you something, have a listen. Take the best parts out of it to make sure that it's good for your life, especially when you're coming into the next part of your life. You're going to ask people, hey, should I do this? Should I do this? What's your advice on that? Listen to them and take out just the best parts of either, this is a great way of going forward this way, or I should avoid that. And I think the next thing is networking. Every person you meet has a unique set of skills or a unique purpose or something great about them. Put that name in your phone and then put down what they can offer you and what you can offer them. So with you, Peter, you can offer me how to really enjoy my next part of life, how to find my purpose. If I'm lost, how I can get there. What I can offer you is a voice by getting your message out there. So that's what I do now. I put down someone I meet and I put down what I can offer them and what they can offer me. And when I need those, I can go to my phone and say, Peter Nichols, he can help me with this. Or someone might come to me and say, Ron, I need help on this, don't know what to do. Hey, I know someone. I've got him in my phone, Peter Nichols. Give him a call.
And you're well known by this, because of all the work you do, you're well and widely known for what you're good at and people talk to you about, etc. So that's very, very, very valuable referral service.
Yeah,
I think is very much good. That's a very good point, I think, Ron. And again, what you're doing, you say you're offering a support service. This word support continues to come through in all ways. And I suppose even going back to your time in Iraq, I guess it was a very supportive role, whether it may have been a tough life. Yeah. And we didn't go into that, and we don't need to now. But
I'll say what I can say. One thing about that was I went over there purely for the money. It was great money.
Yeah.
But I came back with a different attitude in life, in the sense was I saw people at their most lowest point living a horrible life. And what it teaches me now is that when I'm out there, there are people worse off than me, and I need to help them in the littlest way possible. It might be giving directions, it might be referring to someone, or it might be simply just listening. And that's what it's taught me. I went over there for money and came back with a new purpose.
Life teaches you experiences to share.
Yes.
You sort of think, I'll just go through life and it's just, here I am now. but you're learning new experiences which give you a change. And that's where your different perspective and insights come from experiences just like that sort.
Exactly. We all have experiences in life, good and bad.
Yeah.
We could just need to realise how we can use them for purpose. My purpose in life, I think, is, and I know my place in life, and that is to support and help people achieve their goals.
Ron, I'd like to sort of sum it up a little bit now. What I've been hearing is very much that first half of life may have tried a lot of things, but there was a bit of, you're always, look, this is not really quite where I am. And I think that part sort of, you constantly sort of thought, and you tried different fair areas of life and gave them all your all and so forth, and then decided, no, that's not quite it yet. And then suddenly there's sort of, I can see this almost this, the clouds parting and say, this is it.
Yep.
This is what I really want to do. And I think that's something we all go through in various times. I think you definitely are seeing the life as the only half full and still filling up.
Yes.
The issue of time is not one that is managing it yourself, being in charge of time, not having time in charge of you.
Exactly, Peter.
I think that's an important point. Mm-hmm. And of course, we get back to this support word, which is the one. If you have one big word in your life, it's probably support.
Exactly. Yep. I support people to become better them, to get their message out there and be that go-to person that people want to listen to and want to speak to.
Ron, thank you. I think this has been a fabulous interview. I'm sure the listeners will have gained a great deal of thoughts about just what life is like as the years go by, rather than saying, I'm getting older and getting less valuable. It's a whole that's wrong, and you're showing very clearly that. So I'd say to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Enjoying Finding Purpose in the Second Half of Life. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a moment to like, share and subscribe to the podcast. We'd love for you to share this episode with anyone who may need a bit of inspiration for their own journey of change and growth. Stay tuned for more insightful conversations, and until next time, keep searching for what brings purpose to your life. Ron, thank you for your time today. It was a really good discussion.
Thank you, Peter.